Today is all about corned beef, and I'm making the best Reuben sandwiches in the world. Reuben sandwiches are very, very simple to make. You can buy corned beef from the deli, but I like to make my own corned beef, and it's so simple. You just buy a corned beef, put it in your crock pot, cover it with just enough water to cover the meat. You want to put it so that the fat is on the top, and then just sprinkle the packet of seasoning, cover the lid, and cook it for about 6 hours on high, which is what I did last night. And this is the corned beef that I came back with. This started out as about 3.5 pounds, and it shrinks up a lot when it's in that water. But the water also takes a lot of the salt out from the brine that the corned beef has been packaged in. While the meat was still hot, I took a fork and scraped the fat off the top. You can kind of see where I've done that. And so now it's ready to be sliced for my Reuben sandwiches. A Reuben traditionally is corned beef. It's called a Rachel if it's made with pastrami or with turkey, and I did not know that until recently. So I'm just going to use a steak knife and slice my corned beef. It cuts so much easier when it's cold like this. Of course, if you can't wait, you can actually use it when it's hot. It's going to fall apart a little bit, but still be just as good. Okay, so that's completely sliced. And now let's assemble the sandwiches. You have to use rye bread. I prefer seeded rye bread, but that's completely up to you. I'm doing this a little differently. I learned how to make Reuben sandwiches from my mother, and this is how she did them. So it's not quite your traditional. Instead of grilling it, I'm going to bake it. So I have 4 pieces of rye bread, and I've sprayed my pan with a little bit of cooking spray. And another non-traditional thing is Mama always used Dijon mustard. Typically you would use a Russian dressing. I guess in a lot of restaurants nowadays, people use Thousand Islands, sometimes Catalina, but Russian dressing is a little more like Catalina than it is Thousand Island. Of course, you can use whatever you want. I just got used to mustard growing up, and it's my favorite. So I'm going to slather both sides of the bread pretty well with Dijon mustard. These sandwiches are going to be pretty big, so I want to have plenty of condiment. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm going to add corned beef to both sides of the bread. Okay. So this is going to be these are going to be big sandwiches. Let's see. That looks pretty good. You can't make a Reuben without sauerkraut. So I bought a jar of sauerkraut and I've drained it. And you can find refrigerated sauerkraut, which I think is supposed to be healthier for you because it hasn't been pasteurized and it has more of the good vitamins and all of the good stuff that sauerkraut is supposed to do for your body. So whichever one you choose is good. I like a lot of sauerkraut on my Reubens. So I'm going to pile it pretty high on both sides. See, one of the advantages to baking instead of grilling is everything is going to be very, very hot inside. The cheese will be melted. So when I put the sandwiches back together, they'll be warm and gooey all the way through. Now all that's left to do is top the slices with some Swiss cheese. And I have 6 slices, so I'm going to use 3 for each. 1. My oven is preheated at 350 degrees, and I'm going to stick this in the oven just until the cheese melts and is starting to get warm. Then I'm going to close the sandwiches up and flip them over. So I'll be right back. The cheese is melted, and boy, these smell good. So at this point, I just need to toast them. So what I'm going to do is put them together. See, these are some big boys. Flip. So now I'm going to stick them in the oven, and then after this side is toasted, I'm going to flip them and toast the other side, and then they'll be ready to serve. Let's serve these yummy sandwiches. They are heavy. Serrated knife is always the best way. See, they're big and juicy and full of meat and sauerkraut. Let's see. Divine. Divine. It's worth the time. Bake your own corned beef. You will not be sorry.
Right.
If you'd like to see more recipes like this, please subscribe. For complete ingredients and cooking instructions and to purchase cookbooks, visit cateringbydebbycovington.com.